That looks a lot better. Look at that. Yeah, now I'm a lot more in focus here. I didn't look up the office page. Hey. They can't remember what the locus is, so they just call it by a generic term. Ah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes more sense. We have communism will win. I love how, like, that there's like an actual description here. Like, look at this. All the other SCPs I worked on just has a number, but this one that says which used to be a library. So I wonder what that is all about. But yeah, the last one from Communism Will Win that we get to read. I need to check. Okay. Was which one was it? 2586. Which was the one of the I think it's a Mister, if I remember correctly. It's basically the one who changes your name, and the only way for you to remember your name is if he like holds a gun. Like he pretends to hold a gun at you, and it's like a pretend robbery, and then you like suddenly, it's like he can basically demand what your name is, kind of, right? It's just extreme fear from him that makes you snap back like, oh yeah, my name is that. Next one is really cool because it used to be a library. Okay, you say that it's just as much as this guy, as communism will win. So, Exbibliothetic or Exbibliothetic. Yeah, Bibliothek is what we call a library in German. So I like kind of say it like in the same way. But here we go. I can already see that. Well, this is high. SB2602, which used to be a library. It's one of those like. What was the last one that did that? Fucking Ellison Eckert situation right here. This file possesses computer hazardous properties. While reading this text is not believed to be harmful, comprehension and interpretation of the text will be negatively affected. Please exercise discretion when reading this document. Is that also why Howard said this one has an extra page? Item SB2602 library class former. Special container procedures. SB2602 has been acquired under the cover story that it used to be a library. Large bushes and trees have been planted around the property in order to I don't know why for the hot second I thought I knew where that building is from. Large bushes and trees have been planted around the property in order to obscure SB2602. Access is denied to non-personnel and non-personnel. Amnestics have been administered to the town in which SB2602, a former library, is located. All known online references to SB2602 and the fact that it used to be a library have been removed. Oh boy. Filters pertaining to the linguistic markers of SB2602's effect have been added to Foundation web crawling software in order to flag text that potentially pertains to SB2602 for review. All known physical documentation related to SB2602 has been identified and destroyed. Foundation documentation pertaining to SB2602 is to be edited as much as possible for readability by personnel with no familiarity with the anomaly. Typically, 40% of all references to the fact that SB2602 used to be a library can be removed. And here we have the SCP. It looks... honestly, it looks like really familiar. Like it looks like an area that I did like a film shoot at. But I don't think that's the same place. It would be funny, it would be interesting if it was, but I don't think it is. You probably recognize that the building used to be a library. I'm not quite sure yet. Not fully certain. Something tells me maybe not. I think maybe I'm being conned. Description: SB2602 is a building that from 1921 6/8 to 1988 4/29 was a library. SCP-2602 is located in England and developed its anomalous properties in October of 2004. So it is... Oh my god. Did I actually... Did I actually film there? Again, like that building looks so familiar to me. And the fact that it's in England, I'm just like, wait a minute. When communication and information about SCP-2602, subjects are compelled to make frequent references to the fact that SCP-2602 used to be a library. The exact wordings and nature of these references are mostly determined by the author and context, but always ambiguously communicate this information. Text referring to SCP-2602 can have these references removed to a limited degree by a subject who have little knowledge of SCP-2602. As of the fact that it used to be a library. The limited compulsion to allow these references to go unedited has hindered attempts at developing automated processes to remove these references. Any information regarding SCP-2602 is also anomalous. Subjects exposed to communications regarding SCP-2602 will identify the fact that it used to be a library as the primary causal element behind any number of properties of or observation without it. This is proportional to the extent that said information contains references to the fact that SCP-2602 used to be a library. While the subject will develop false beliefs to support these irrational causal linkages, they do not generalize and pose no general risk to cognition. For example, while several subjects have posited that the effects of gravity within SCP-2602 are a result of it having been a library but no longer serving that purpose, they do not hold this belief with regards to other buildings that used to be a library. Woo! Subjects are incapable of communicating directly or otherwise any information pertaining to SCP-2602's use between its time as a library and the development of its anomalous property. When prompted to do so, they will instead insistently and repeatedly refer to the fact that SCP-2602 used to be a library. Due to this and the fact that SCP-2602 used to be a library has been very difficult to determine what, if anything, occurred in SCP-2602 from 1988 to 2004. Addendum 1. Summary of a survey of SCP-2602, which used to be a library, conducted by agents Roderick and Casey on December 9, 2004. Unreadable segments have been excised entirely. See also SCP-2602 photographic evidence, which we will get into this afterwards, right? We'll get to that because it's not that long. There's only that much left here. But wait, hold on. I will have to look it up real quick. Where are you? If you are where you... Oh. We're good. It's not... Okay. It's not where I filmed. But it looks very similar. It looks very similar. It would have been wild. It would have been wild if like if I look at an SCP image and I was like, oh yeah, I filmed it. Like I would have been like, it's like, damn, what a coincidence. While SCP-2602's layout While SCP-2602's layout is generally appropriate for a formal library, it is inconsistent with obtaining blueprints from the local government and testimony from past patrons. It is thus assumed that SCP-2602 used to be a library. Most notably, SCP-2602 contains an extensive subterranean component of the kind generally found in former libraries. SCP-2602 experienced extensive fire damage on the same day that it developed anomalous properties. No. Not again. We already had one library that was burned down to the ground. We can't have it again. Consultation with actuarial tables has shown little deviation from what is expected of fire damage to former libraries. However, some of the debris exhibited elevated levels of Dewey radiation, preventing access to several shrines that were likely used to assist SCP-2602's reading groups when it was a library. A type of radiation common to buildings that used to be libraries. It is typically only emitted by damaged library patrons. This is gonna be one of those cases where, like, after a while, like, the word library is going to, like, not even gonna sound like the word anymore for me. It's in Surrey, according to Google. Gotcha. Wait. Hold on. You say it's Surrey? Yeah, that should be Surrey I looked up before, right? Hold on. Now we're if it is in Surrey, that's more likely what I did film. Uh-oh. That okay. Now we are getting closer to the place I filmed at. A number, because if it's wait, so you're saying this image here is a it's in Surrey, but what was it with the Ashburton one? What was that all about? A number of advanced book sorting machines were found, though long-term storage in a former library has rendered them inoperable. Restraints used by libraries to hold patrons with overdue books were similarly damaged, apparently violently, by this storage. SCP-2602's hazardous waste pit, whose presence is expected in what used to be a library, was cordoned off. However, in the process, Exbibliothetic fluctuations in the waste resulted in Agent Casey suffering several major flesh wounds, which later proved to be fatal. Notably, SCP-2602 used to be a library. Conclusions: as evidenced by the fact that SCP-2602 used to be a library and was formerly a library, it is probable that SCP-2602 used to be a library. It is likely that shortly after it ceased to be a library, SCP-2602 was previously a library. This likely served to highlight the fact that SCP-2602 used to be a library and obscure that SCP-2602 used to be a library. Oh my god. Can you imagine being another, like, Foundation member and be like, okay, let me look at the log that you wrote about SCP-2602, and reading all this and be like, looking at you, just looking at your partner, like, why it had to be you? Why it had to be you? Yeah, yeah, he's infected. Come get him. You know what I mean? From the discussion, the image originates from Ashton Park near South Norwood, Croydon, Great Britain. Gotcha. Gotcha. And now we go look at the photographic evidence. The following photos were tagged for immediate review by a panel of personnel with minimal exposure to SCP-2602, which used to be a library. Yeah, we can click to access images in original resolution. So this one we can now. Oh, we can see how, like, is that's definitely. That looks edited in a little bit. Samothrace, Eudaimonia, Fitzwilliams. Oops, go back. Image 214. Anthropology microfiche section analyzes a collection of anthropological records from a wide variety of cultures is by no means atypical for a former library. Image 116. Microfiche index analysis feelings of intense admiration are a perfectly normal reaction. 2141 2140. The symbol that makes you into a yeah, I can see it. These are the symbols that make that the other SCP has as well, where you think you become a Foundation member. Feeling of intense admiration are a perfectly normal reaction to the organization, a plumb of a former library. 117. Microfiche reader analysis. Many former libraries will take measures to preserve sensitive equipment from dust, light, and sentient edible life. 121. Fire exit analysis. Fire exits are often repurposed in former libraries, as are patron bodily fluids. Not sure about that part. This looks dope, honestly. 124. Quiet study area analysis. Although sleeping is often against policy in active libraries, it's common for former libraries to contain patrons who have nodded off in a quiet place. Ooh, there's some blood here. Compact shelving. What? Why is there a fucking highway? Like, excellent highway shield here. Analysis graffiti from enthusiastic patrons, sadly typical in former libraries which lack both the janitors and carrion feeders. We in the library in Zurich, you have these as well. You can just like basically like crank and then move them all like away from each other. It's pretty cool. Image 142, Exbibliothetic possession analysis. It's perfectly normal and arguably quite convenient for the circulation cards to levitate in the presence of Dewey radiation, atypical of former libraries. And then library stacks. Collapsible shelving is atypical in former libraries with space consideration. I'm pretty sure the water being fucking toxic is not a good sign. But okay. That's definitely from a former library. It absolutely is. Dr. AfroFluff used to be a former library of all of all SCP logs. Oh man. I hope that's not gonna be the case. I don't wanna be a former library, guys. I'm good. Water being toxic is actually common in former libraries. That makes sense. That makes sense. How could I? Of course, my bad. I'm still learning about the logic of former libraries that used to be libraries, and people recall being a library. It's one of my favorites. You mean it was one of your favorites because it used to be a library. All right, let's go on.